Well, the videos that we like doing best are request videos from subscribers. And the beauty of requests is you'd think at least one person's going to watch it. So anyway, this is we came out today to do a request which is about camels. I was thinking about putting a false hump on the lad, but let's not go overboard. Anyway, what I wanted to say is also you'll notice that today, which is the 2nd of August, I'm hoping to put up a couple of photographs on the community page of my YouTube channel. And these are photos I took a couple of days ago when the lad and I were having a bit of a smooch. They were still photos. Put them on Facebook. And someone on Facebook wrote, "It's easy to see that you two really love each other." And what it made me think is that person's half right, because yes, I love this horse far too much. And by that I mean, if something ever happens to this horse, let's not even go down that path. Just let's leave it at the fact that I love this horse too much. But this horse does not love me. This horse is a piece of livestock. It is not a pet. He is a piece of livestock, like a cow. The thing about horses is they are very, very intelligent. I've said it before, one of my favourite quotes from a movie is from the new Lone Ranger movie. Johnny Depp as Tonto is looking at Silver, and the Lone Ranger says, "What are you doing?" And Tonto says, "I am trying to work out if this horse is stupid or if it is so clever it can pretend it's stupid." And I think it's a great quote because these creatures are so intelligent. Words fail me about how intelligent they are. If you look on the internet somewhere, you can see the world's most intelligent horse and how it could add up numbers. And when you talk about how on earth could you just randomly say what's 5 and 3 and the horse taps 8 times, horse was so clever that they say that the trainer had tiny facial expressions, and that horse could then, it didn't know what 5 and 3 was, but it knew that just like Trigger was such an intelligent horse. Anyway, what that got me thinking is that I should make this video just to say that when Cody does things, runs up to me when I go out there, anything that he does, it's because he is clever enough to know that he actually gets some form of reward, a kind word, a pat, food, and so that's why they appear like they love you, but they haven't got the ability to have an emotion of love for a human being. I have been away from this farm for a couple of days. I come back, I park the car. This horse is at the fence calling out, calling out. And the person might say, "Oh, Steve, he knows you're back." And he's calling out to you in love. He knows I've missed him and I'm going to come and give him some tucker. That's all it is. So having said that, it reminds me of a great story. And somebody once said, the thing I like about your videos, Steve, is they spiderweb. They go all over the place. My God, could this go all over the place? We've already talked about Trigger, and now what we're going to talk about is a lion. So I really like a screenwriter called William Goldman. I've done an entire video on him, which is how he discovered Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid, made the movie. Go watch that video. I think it's a great video. Should I say that? Anyway, so William Goldman, he went on holiday to Africa. When he was on holiday in Africa, he heard this story about these 2 male lions that worked together hunting down and killing humans. It happened in the late 1800s. When he heard the story and it was explained to him that lions don't like human beings, they don't like the smell or the taste of human flesh, but the only time a lion will take a human is when the lion has been expelled from the pried through age. It's got no teeth. It needs to find the weakest, easiest prey. So then it will resort to eating a human being. But they don't eat human beings. What we had in this case, in the late 1800s, was two male lions working together as a couple. Not that there's anything wrong with that, which also was unheard of, and just taking natives. Then it turns out these two lions became so infamous that they'd been shot and killed and stuffed, taken to America, and were in the Chicago Museum. You go see these two boys today in the Chicago Museum. William Goldman thought this was a great story. Then it turns out these lions ate 130, 140 people after they started keeping records. Why did they start keeping records? Because a guy named Patterson was a Scottish engineer, and he went to Africa to build a railway for the English, the British. See, there's another spider web. The English ripping off African resources and the Boer War. Try to stay focused, Steve. It's not easy. So, Patterson. Huge workforce to help him build this railway, except they keep getting eaten. Now, Patterson was a bit of a big game hunter, and so he set about shooting these two lions. Easy job, you reckon, eh? They proved to be incredibly intelligent. He set traps and tethered goats and did all sorts of things. Nothing worked. They were so clever. There's even one account where he got a railway carriage and he built heavy, strong steel cages in the railway carriage, and he got half a dozen heavily armed sharpshooters with heavy caliber weapons in the cage in the wagon. Then he put meat in the other end of the cage and hoped the lions would come. And one lion did come, and it jumped in the railway carriage and went to eat the meat. And the shooters opened fire. How many people hit the lion? Now, what I want to say to you is there is a big difference between being at a gun range, relaxed, having a coffee, looking at a paper target, and shooting a paper target. There's a big difference when you are smashed with adrenaline, when you're terrified, when you're shaking and you're trying to shoot and you're in fear because these lions had killed and eaten so many people. These guys were in a cage, they were still terrified. What happens is they open fire and they blow a hole in the side of the railway carriage. This is a true story. And the lion leaps out and gets away yet again. So anyway, this looked like a great story, and it eventually took 8 months of day in, day out. British government, why isn't the railway built? All the black people that were working on the railway wanting to run away. Patterson not getting food, not getting supplies, starving, tearing his hair out. 8 months this took. Goldman thinks, wow, this will make a great movie. When he goes to look at the script, what sort of a movie can you make with one man spending 8 months trying to shoot 2 lions? So then he comes up with the idea and he says, I know, how about if I create one extra character that's not in the true story? I'm going to call him Redbeard. He is the world's greatest hunter. He is enigmatic. Nobody knows much about him. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to make him come to Africa, come to Patterson. The problems are all going to be solved. And then he gets eaten. Goldman thought this would just be able to make a little link in the movie that made that whole 8-month process acceptable to the movie industry and the movie audience. So what happens is, along comes a man who has had some fantastic success with movies. He has made Romancing the Stone, The War of the Roses, Fatal Attraction, the Bunny Eater movie, or was that Fatal? Anyway, see, I didn't do my research, I'm rambling again. So Michael Douglas comes along pretty much at the height of his producing, directing, acting career. Michael Douglas at that time, with Jewel in the Nile, he is thought to be, he can do no wrong. He comes along and he says, oh, I like that part of Redbeard, the enigmatic hunter that comes on the scene. I'd like to play that part. I'm going to produce the movie and I'd like to play that part. So when he decides to play the part, of course, he's a huge star. Can't really come and play this part and be in the movie 2 minutes and then get eaten. And slowly, slowly, the whole story gets changed. Michael Douglas gets a bigger and bigger part. They get Val Kilmer in to play Patterson. Val Kilmer's going through hell with his career, with drugs, with his health, with divorce. It really turns out to be a ruined movie. It's not a successful movie. It's not a financial success. And for once, Michael Douglas's involvement destroys the whole concept of the original film. But really, I've told you all that about that movie, The Ghost and the Darkness. I've told you all about that, and really this video is about somebody saying it's clear to see you really love each other. And I say this horse doesn't love me. And my example comes from The Ghost and the Darkness movie, in which they have two enormous mechanical lions, the most realistic mechanical lions of the era. They're huge, they're fabulous, but they do want to include a real lion whenever possible and whenever it's safe. So they set up this big sound stage. They build it so that the crew, film crew, the sound, the camera, everybody are safely behind heavy steel bars. And then they get this enormous lion to come in with its French lion tamer. This huge lion comes in. William Goldman was there, and he says he knew he was safe behind heavy bars, and he was terrified. He was terrified, even though he was behind, because the aura, the power that this lion gave off. And there's a French tamer comes in with him, and he only has a light hand whip. And the lion behaves faultlessly. It does everything that's asked, when it's asked. Massive, huge mane, vicious looking, claws, teeth. And it does everything perfectly, like a trained rabbit. So what happens is, the trainer is heading off, and as he's just about to put the lion back in its cage, because the shoot's over, this massive lion stands up on its back legs, and it puts these massive paws that dwarfs the Frenchman's shoulder. He just puts its paws there and looks at him and has a rub, and then gets back down and goes into the cage. William Goldman goes up to that trainer later and he says, "Wow, that lion, that must really love you." And William Goldman says, the French trainer looked at him and said, "He knows I feed him." It's a terrible French accent, but that's all the Frenchman said was, "He knows I feed him." And then William Goldman wasn't going to leave it at just that. He said, "No, I can't believe that. There's more to it. That lion really cares for you." And the Frenchman took off his glasses and said, "He knows I feed him." And as he took his glasses off, he had a massive scar that was hidden by these large sunglasses. And then he said, "And just once, I made a mistake." And so there you go. There's my long, rambling, twisted story that resulted from a very nice person, a lovely lady who's a very positive lady, simply saying that it's obvious we love each other. Yes, I love him. But sacre bleu, this horse, he knows who feeds him. Isn't that right, old mate? Okay, if you're still watching at this point in time, you must be an insomniac, a masochist, or desperate. Cheers, thanks very much. Till next time.